Ciao, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today we are doing 3 Mediterranean diet recipes with the theme being fruits. I think we are in the peak season of incredible fruits. August to September, my favorite fruit season, my favorite just produce season in general. Tomatoes are incredible, zucchini by the dozens, lots of corn, and of course, lots and lots of incredible stone fruit. And I am featuring stone fruit all throughout this recipe video here today. And I just feel like I talk so much about vegetables, but fruit is also incredible. And in the Mediterranean, I feel like fruit can be prepared in a way that is not just a snack, or it's not just dessert, but it also can be eaten savory. What's considered stone fruit is usually has a big stone kind of pit in the center of it. So peaches, plums, nectarines, cherries, because they have a pit. Another stone fruit that doesn't necessarily have a pit, but is an incredible fruit in this kind of stone fruit family are figs. I know this video is not gonna be for everybody. Only a select few are really gonna enjoy this video because people might find it very strange to combine fruit into savory ways. I think a lot of people like to, separate the two, but not in my world. In my world, everything goes together. So the 3 recipes we'll be doing today is going to be a pork tenderloin because it is so easy, so good for you, quite lean. You could also do beef tenderloin if you're not for pork, but a pork tenderloin marinated in a beautiful sumac, pomegranate molasses, citrusy sauce marinade. And I'm gonna pair that with a peach, cucumber, herby salsa. Recipe number 2 is going to be a Harissa cherry glazed salmon. So salmon is also so incredibly easy to make. Almost all fish really is. Harissa is a very traditional spicy kind of paste with peppers and garlic and herbs, and it just is a huge flavor bomb secret to have on hand to throw into things like, frozen cherries that you want to get rid of and could cook down with some Harissa. So that's recipe number 2. And recipe number 3 going to be Baharat grilled plums and figs topped with a rose goat cheese and a burnt Baharat caramelized walnut crumble. Oh my gosh, can you ever keep it simple? No, I can never keep it simple. I'm honestly most excited for that one. I'm excited for all these recipes, but I cannot wait to make that one. And the Baharat has this cardamom cinnamon kind of base that is slightly sweet, but also has the cumin, the coriander, and all of that. So together, and even has some rose petals in the Baharat. So that is a great complement to those beautiful stone fruits of the plums and the figs. And then to bring back that rose flavor, I whipped some goat cheese with some rose. I think I've been talking enough. So let's hop into recipe number 1. So for recipe number 1, I'm using the cast iron skillet oven method to cook this pork tenderloin. If you want to just go ahead and grill it about 7-8 minutes on each side, I highly recommend that during the summer. But I'm going to go ahead and preheat the cast iron. And I'm preheating the oven to convection roast at 420 because what we're gonna do is get a beautiful seared caramelized crust on each side of the pork tenderloin in the cast iron, and then we're gonna pop the cast iron into the oven to finish and make sure that the pork is cooked all the way through. And if you don't have a cast iron skillet, that's perfectly fine. You can either do it in a skillet and then transfer it to a baking sheet, or if you have another type of skillet that is good in the oven, say stainless steel or ceramic, that would also be good. So let's talk about the pork. I don't eat pork very often, but I do love the tenderloin because it's such a lean piece of meat, so easy to prep. Something different than just chicken breasts or something else kind of lean. You can also, like I said, use beef tenderloin. You could also kind of marinate tofu if you want to cube up or take a block of tofu and marinate it and then bake it or sear it. That's another vegan option. On my website for this recipe, I will try to give you guys more options than just using pork. So I have this marinade of pomegranate molasses, which is one of my favorite ingredients to use. It's nice and sweet and yet tangy, but not like vinegary tangy. It's a wonderful kind of condiment to have. Olive oil, lots and lots of sumac, which is the star of the show. You guys know how much I love sumac. It's like a very lemony spice. It's so good. And then a whole entire lime zested and juiced, and then a whole lemon zested and half the lemon juiced. And the reason why this marinade was kind of made when I got here, about like maybe an hour and a half ago, is because all of that citrus, if it's too long on meat, it can start to cook it. A lot of that citrus helps tenderize it, which is exactly what we want. We want a nice, juicy, delicious piece of meat. We don't want a piece of meat that's already been starting to cook. So when you put in that citrus, be careful, hence the reason, ceviche exists. Ceviche is lime and lemon juice or citrus juice that cooks that seafood. Oh, I also put garlic in here too, and salt and pepper. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this into the cast iron skillet Give it a good sear on each side, pop it in the oven. The pork tenderloin has been seared on all of the sides and it's in the oven now, so I'm going to prep the salsa while I wait for it to cook. A couple minutes on each side and then about 13-15 minutes in the oven at 400. You can use a thermometer, but basically I know how to test it because of its like firmness. It was still pretty loose and wiggly when I went to go put it in the oven, so I know that the inside is definitely still very raw. So we're gonna take some peaches. I have some beautiful local peaches from a local farmer. Oh my gosh. Oh, peaches. When I refer to stone fruit, that's this big stone in the middle is what I'm talking about. I think this is so cute. Look at this peach. He has his little leafy green beauty on top. So I'm gonna try to do a nice fine dice. Some other things you could add to this salsa if you'd like. Tomatoes, about the same amount of peaches to tomatoes to make it kind of like a even more savory salsa. You could add jalapeno for a little kick. You could even add a harissa paste, would be actually really good in this salsa as well. It's kind of almost like a salad, a really fine peach salad to top on top of the pork tenderloin. I'm doing cucumbers. You could also add bell peppers into this, and I do really recommend that you leave the skin on because it's one of the things that makes peaches so incredible is that skin. I'm also going to be using a lot of herbs in this salsa because you're sick of it. I know. I love all the fresh summer herbs. After we have cooked this pork for so long, it really needs something super zingy, vibrant, fresh to be put on top of it. So that's why I wanted this really juicy, sweet, and herbaceous, fresh salad salsa mixture to go on top. I am using green onions for that oniony flavor. If you don't like green onions or you happen to have a shallot and or red onion, those would be a great substitute. And then I'm also going to be using a lot of cilantro. If you don't like cilantro and it tastes like soap to you, you can just leave it out, or you could use parsley. Parsley would also be really yummy. Of course, you already know I'm going in with basil. What's new? And if I go in with basil, then I gotta go in with some mint because I feel like mint and peaches, it's so good. But if there's an herb that you don't like, leave it out. I didn't mention chives. Chives would also, if you don't have scallions, green onions, red onion or shallots, chives would also be a beautiful kind of oniony garlic flavor. So like I said, I'm gonna go in with some cucumber. I already have it nice and diced up. So if you want to prep your herbs to top off all your dishes throughout the week, I really recommend chopping them and then putting a damp paper towel on top. That way no oxygen really can get to them, and that moisture and water from the paper towel keeps them fresh and crisp for about probably 3 or 4 days. So if you hate chopping up herbs every single day, I highly recommend this kind of little hack. And then I have some cilantro. Cilantro is not the sturdiest. It does get slightly black, but it's still incredibly fresh tasting. Cilantro. I know I'm so annoying when I do that. To be talking so normal and then I say cilantro, but like, what am I supposed to say? Cilantro? Cilantro. Okay, Caroline, you can do it. It's cilantro. I'm like, I don't want to annoy you guys, but it's so fun to say cilantro. But anyways, now we're gonna go in with some mint. Pick that right off. Oh my gosh, it smells so refreshing. Not a lot compared to the cilantro or the green onions. Some basil off my sweet little plant here. Oh my god. It's such a good smell. Every time I order a pizza margherita, I did it again, pizza margherita, I always say extra basil. Do they charge me like $1 for extra basil? Yeah, but pizza margherita, they only put like 2 sprigs of basil. And I honestly should be like psycho the next time I go get pizza and like take a damp paper towel and put it in a plastic baggie with some basil and just add my own basil to the pizza. I'm so weird. Finely chopped. Basil is beyond delicate, so the moment this metal blade hits the basil, that's why I like to tear it with my hands most of the time, it turns black. But again, it's not like black rotten, just black because the metal kind of affects the basil that way. Don't think it's going bad or it is bad, it just happens to do that. These are kind of 2 herbs that I recommend you don't prep, like cilantro, parsley, green onions. They're a little bit, they can be prepped, but basil and mint kind of need to be added last minute. There's more delicate herb for sure. Next, I'm going to zest an entire lime. You're gonna be seeing me use a lot of lime throughout this whole recipe video. You wanna avoid the white part on the rinds of citrus because it's quite bitter. Cut in the center. And you really want a lot of juice because that's kind of the dressing to this salad. And you wanna get it all over you so that way you smell like delicious limes for the rest of the day. And it's your own like natural perfume, right? Wrong. Don't do that. Don't get it all over you. You can get burnt from limes if you touch limes and then go out into the sun. I've heard a lot of horror stories of people making margaritas and then having like 3rd-degree burns on their hands because of all the limes. So, fun fact, be careful. Now for some seasoning, I'm gonna bring back all the flavors from that pork with a ton of sumac, salt and pepper, the half of the lemon that I did not end up using for the pork wants to go everywhere but the bowl. That's my luck when I wear an outfit that I shouldn't be wearing to cook in. It is exactly 15 minutes later since I put the pork into the oven, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab it. The pork is out of the oven, and pork needs a solid, almost all meat, but pork does need a solid 6 to 8 minutes of resting time. You can even put some foil over it so that way it remains hot, but you get that good amount of resting. So the longer it rests, the more you kind of help out it not bleeding so much when you go to cut it. But the salsa is already done too. I'm gonna go ahead and give this salsa a nice toss. It's very, very, very herbaceous, has all of the beautiful sumac coating everything. And the beautiful thing also about cooking is you gotta taste while you go. That's amazing. It's the perfect balance of savory, sweet, refreshing. Fruit can be mellowed down with its sweetness and turned into something so savory, delicious. So I'm gonna pop this in the fridge, wait for the pork to rest, and then we're gonna plate it all up. Tried this pork and it's phenomenal. It's so crusty, so full of flavor. It is so tender, soft, really juicy, and such a lean piece of meat, such a simple, easy to make piece of meat. So have the beautiful piece of pork tenderloin cooked all the way through to perfection. A little bit of the peach salad. This is so good. So quick, so easy, so simple, so refreshing. This sumac citrus marinated pork with the herby peach salad. Talk about the perfect thing to meal prep. Let's move on to recipe number 2, so I don't eat this entire thing. Recipe number 2 is going to be the easiest salmon you've ever made. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the oven to broil. Because salmon is such a thin fish, broiling it is the best because it gets what I love the most, like we just talked about with the pork, that charred, crusty outside, and then keeps it nice and juicy and delicate on the inside and flaky. And salmon and fish are just in general so easy to overcook, so we want to avoid that. So by broiling it, you can really sear up that outside, and then the inside stays flaky but yet cooked all the way through, and it also only takes 10-12 minutes. So to flavor the salmon, we're going to glaze it with a Harissa cherry glaze. A spoon, you could also use kind of a pastry brush for this. And I'm gonna dip the spoon and press down against the cherries just to get the juice. And I'm gonna pour that juice all over the top of this salmon. So how we made this glaze is so simple. I had some cherries. You can use frozen or fresh, pitted obviously, into the saucepan with a bunch of honey, with some harissa paste. Harissa is not only loaded with all that spicy pepper goodness, but it also has garlic and herbs and so many flavors already in the paste with it. And then so you add in that super spicy paste. You could also use like a Calabrian chili oil if you wanted to. I did a little bit of red wine vinegar, and you just cook it down until the cherries are so soft and really broken down, and it creates this beautiful thick glaze that we are now taking just the glaze on top of the salmon. And then I'm gonna take the leftover cherries, not only top it on the salmon, but I'm also going to add the leftover cherries into an arugula salad to pair with this incredible salmon. So that way we're using up everything. So now you have these like beautiful cooked down honey, spicy cherries. And then I made some sesame rice Technically, it's called, what is it called? It's this really fun rice that's actually made out of lentils and chickpeas, and I thought that was really fun. Oh, white rice, because it just has a little bit more protein, a little chewier texture. You can use regular rice. I just saw that in my pantry. It's been staring at me for like a month now, and I thought, why not try it out? So it's this toasted sesame rice. Could have even gone with the pork too, if you were looking for some kind of starch to pair with the pork. It's just a little bit of butter, a little bit of toasted sesame oil, that rice, and you cook it down. That's kind of the starch that I wanted to pair with the arugula salad and this salmon. So I'm gonna pop this into the oven right underneath the broiler. And like I said, we have so many cherries left over. I'm actually gonna try one. Oh my gosh, they're so spicy. Ah! Oh my gosh. Oh, that's spicy. I'm gonna be honest. I can't do spicy, so I'm gonna tell you that this is very spicy, and I still love it so much. This cherry harissa glazed salmon is unbelievable. So good. Spicy sweet with the cherries, but it's also very tart from the cherries. The sesame is almost sweet as well because it's kind of toasted, and it balances out everything. And then the tart arugula is something so fresh because we don't really have a lot of like fresh things going on. So the tart bittery arugula packs a punch. And then when you get one of those cherries, oh my gosh, the cherries are full of spice. And the cherries are so soft and juicy. The salmon is phenomenal. Cooked to utter perfection, I'm not gonna lie. The sauce or the glaze that came off of the salmon onto the pan totally burnt because it's under the broiler with such a high sugar content. So that's why I really recommend putting down aluminum foil, because it will burn all around the salmon, but the salmon will turn out perfect. All right, one more bite, and then I'm gonna clean up and move on to the third and final recipe. One of my favorite things about stone fruit is how like sturdy of a fruit they are, and so they stay together very well when you cook them. So I'm gonna do some grilled stone fruit, and the stone fruit I'm choosing, because I've already used a lot, so I'm down to my favorite fruit, as I mentioned in the beginning, figs. I love figs so much. They have like a jammy inside. Technically, a lot of cultures don't eat the peel of figs, but I love the skin of the figs. So I'm just cutting them in half, so that way there's a surface for them to grill. And then I'm also gonna use some plums, so I'm just gonna have them remove the stone, AKA the pit, and have those ready as well to grill. I have been eating figs a lot because figs are finally here. It's finally fig season, and I've been eating it with one of my favorite things, which is, sorry about the wind chimes. I love having the windows open, which is granola butter from the company called Oat House. And it's basically this delicious like nut butter, but made out of oats. And they use like cinnamon and cardamom and cloves in the original flavor of that oat butter. And that made me think of a way to make this more savory is with using my favorite spice blend, which I have now realized there's Middle Eastern inspiration in all of these recipes. And remember, I just mean inspiration. Of course, nothing is traditional, but I do love so many flavors. I did not see this coming, using Middle Eastern with the Harissa, the Baharat rose, which you'll see here in a little bit, and the Sumac. So Baharat is one of my most favorite spices because I love depth of spices, like 5, 6, 7 spices, but sometimes, especially me when I used to like live in an apartment, or since I'm like moving a lot right now, whatever, I'm not in a place to invest in a huge spice cabinet with 20, 30 different spices, all that kind of stuff. So to have a spice blend is so convenient. And this has cumin, coriander, black pepper, cinnamon, cardamom, clove, allspice, rose petals, which I love, and ginger and nutmeg. It's like a savory sweet spice. And so I thought that would be perfect to put on fruit because all those spices complement so well, especially since I've been having this with that granola butter, which I love, love, love. And I think stone fruit is a beautiful example of a transition from this fruit to the more fall fruit, because we go from like berries in the beginning of summer to stone fruit towards the end of summer, and to more like fall fruits, the pears and the apples and things like that. There's no like sectioning off seasonal fruit. Seasonal fruit blends into all the seasons in my mind. So I'm gonna take all the stone fruit here. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and turn on the grill pan right now. I'm gonna do like an 8, a 7, 8, so like medium high. The sweetness is what's gonna help really get those beautiful grill marks and caramelize this fruit. But I'm also gonna go in with just like, honestly, the smallest amount of olive oil. I'm just gonna toss them in the olive oil just because it adds some fruitiness. It helps them get glazed and it helps the Baharat stick, which I'm gonna go ahead and put in about probably a tablespoon of Baharat. Get it nice and coated. I'm just gonna let that sit and talk about what I'm gonna top off the fruit with. And so in this bowl, I have a beautiful creamy topping for this super hot, juicy, grilled, spiced fruit. Is gonna be a rose, olive oil, honey, whipped goat cheese. Goat cheese is so tangy. It's actually really good for you as far as digestion because goat and sheep's milk cheese is much easier to digest than cow's milk. I mean, all high quality cheese is much easier to digest than low quality cheese. So quality is always very important as well. And so to this goat cheese, I just softened it to room temperature, whipped it with a spoon just to get a lot of air into it, added some rose water, rose petals, olive oil, which I forgot to film, and some honey. And that way it's just ready to go. And if you don't like goat cheese, this would be fantastic with mascarpone. Honestly, even like a savory whipped cream, you can add a little bit of powdered sugar to it, but also like whipped cream with rose water and olive oil and all of that, that would also be a delicious way to top it. You could use like a vegan cream cheese if you wanted to, if you are vegan and wanted to keep this a dairy-free recipe. And so that's gonna be the perfect little creamy topping because I feel like fruit and cheese go so well together. And then something crunchy to go on top is I have these walnuts, but they're basically just repeating the flavors that are going on with the fruit, with the Baharat. I wanted something really crunchy because you have that soft caramelized fruit, the whipped creamy goat cheese, and then I wanted some texture from a crunch. And I wanted something bitter to counteract everything because we have something cream and floral, we have something fruity and really spicy, and then I feel like I kind of wanted something kind of bitter. So I meant to burn them, believe it or not. You don't have to burn them. Just the caramelized flavor on the outside that's burnt. It's not actually the nut itself. That's super important. You don't actually want to burn the nut. You just want to burn the caramelization on the outside ever so slightly. And so these are the perfect topping. This is so beautiful, I can't do it. I can't eat it, but I'm gonna eat it. And I'm so excited that it's the last thing because it's just fruit and cheese and nuts. And I love that I saved this for last. Very common in the Mediterranean to serve dinner and then a fruit and cheese platter after dessert, or even as dessert, or you can do it before dessert. So I'm gonna take, oh my gosh, a little bit of this goat cheese, a fig, and some rose petals and some walnuts. Do not eat the rose buds if you do get rose petals for this. I recommend petals, not buds. Buds I just got for the look for presentation, but I definitely don't recommend eating a whole entire rose bud. So let's try a beautiful Baharat grilled fig with a whipped rose goat cheese and a caramelized walnut on top. It's like the perfect in between of sweet and savory. Not overly savory, not overly sweet. This is so good. I seriously, I mean, I need to ponder, like I say in every video, ways to explain just how good this is with the juicy fruit, so soft, and the caramelized goodness that comes with it. Those char marks from the grill, that bitter, burnt taste from those walnuts, the whipped floral rose goat cheese with a little bit of tang because it's goat's milk. You have to try this. If you're having like a summer dinner party and you want to do a beautiful like cheese and fruit platter beforehand or after dinner, if you get a stone fruit that's not really full of flavor, whether it's a plum or a nectarine or something like that, and you want to really bring out its beautiful flavors, cooking it does just that. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I know this video is not for everybody. I know not everyone loves fruit in their savory dishes, but I hope you get some inspiration out of this video. I hope one of these recipes, if not all of them, just spark some interest for you to get into the kitchen and start cooking the Mediterranean diet to help you start living the modern Mediterranean lifestyle. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for watching. Please, please, please give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy. And if you aren't already, please subscribe. And don't forget to leave a comment on which of these recipes you're most excited to try, or at least try a variation of what you're inspired by. And of course, if you have any questions about a specific ingredient, a specific recipe, a way of eating, that anything that refers to the Mediterranean diet or the Mediterranean lifestyle, please leave a comment. I'm always in the comments. It's my favorite thing about uploading and being here on YouTube is getting to talk to you guys in the comments. It's just makes my day. It makes my day to get to talk to you guys in the comments. I love it so, so much. So thank you so much for watching this video. And until next time, I hope you create a very, very zestful day. Ciao.